You ever sit there and think to yourself and wonder, is our society heading towards the direction of being completely cashless? I mean, maybe you've been out shopping and you've noticed more and more businesses are only accepting card or digital payments. Maybe your neighbors are talking to you about it. You've definitely probably seen it on the news, right? Well, what's the deal with all this cashless society talk? I mean, are cash and coins going to go away for good? What does a cashless society look like? Does it look all that different from digital currency world we live in now? That's a lot of questions, so let's start breaking these down. So first off, let's talk about what is a cashless society? Well, a cashless society is a society where all physical money, cash, checks, and coins are completely and totally replaced by digital currency. And that includes replacing debit and credit cards too. You might be thinking, wait a second, don't we already have a cashless society now? I mean, you're not really wrong, but cash is still king. But because of the convenience factor, a lot of people choose to make their everyday purchases using PayPal or Venmo, Apple Pay, debit, or worst of all, credit. You know who you are. Think about it. Unless you're a hardcore stickler for, an envelope system or the shoebox system at home, when was the last time you actually used cash to pay for everything? I mean, what is money really? Well, Pew Research shows that in a typical week, 29% of Americans make absolutely zero purchases using cash. That's not all that surprising, though. It makes sense. A lot of us swipe our debit cards to pay for everything and have wallets stuffed to the brim with receipts, rewards cards, and gum wrappers. Just a bunch of stuff that's not cash. But a true cashless society is way different than that. It's a world where cash doesn't exist. No one is paid under the table, and every transaction you make is traceable. It might sound a little scary, and in some cases it might be. So, what's all this talk about a cashless society? Well, let's see. After the pandemic happened, people didn't want to touch anything that someone else touched, especially, even if it was sanitized first, they're still a little skeptical. And what's one of the grimiest, most germ infested things that passes easily from person to person? That's right, it's money. But not the digital currency kind. We're talking money you hold, cash, coins. It didn't take long for businesses to decide that they didn't want their cashiers handling cash from everyday random customers coming in off the street. So they started pushing for cashless payments with only cards to cut back on the spread of germs. Signs like not accepting cash and cards only started popping up at stores across the country because somehow that's safer. Now, we hate to break it to you, but dollar bills were always gross, even before the pandemic ever came along. But that didn't seem to bother anyone back then. Anyways, does this have something to do with the coin shortage? Well, you probably heard all about the great American coin shortage that happened after the pandemic, right? So if you lump the phrases cashless society and coin shortage together, then yeah, you might find a conspiracy theory in there somewhere. But here's the deal. When people stop using cash to buy things, a coin shortage isn't super surprising. Think about it. The coin shortage happened because back when businesses were closed, there weren't any coins changing hands. And even when people did make purchases, they weren't using cash and coins to do it. Plus, the US Mint, right, and they're responsible for actually making the coins, they had fewer staff members on hand during the pandemic. And when businesses opened back up, they need, the coins was just, the need for them was greater than the number of coins existing in the world. In other words, the real problem came from coins not moving around out there in the wild of the economy and not from a true shortage of coins themselves. And all those things, if you add them all up, they equal one big circulation problem. That's all. Now, take a deep breath. Stop looking for the boogeyman, and just be prepared to have exact change with you when you want to pay in cash. That's not really a big problem these days. Of a lot of places have gone back to using they'll accept cash, but most places really don't want to take cash. Well, speaking of not taking cash, let's talk about something called FedCoin. What is it? Well, FedCoin is a term people throw around when talking about a type of federal digital currency, right? Like a federal kind of cryptocurrency that's backed by a central bank. But let's be clear, Fedcoin doesn't exist yet. Now, Fedcoin would be on the blockchain just like any other cryptocurrency, but it would have the central bank in its corner, which is something traditional cryptocurrency runs away from. In fact, most people who are knee deep in crypto are drawn to it because it's not regulated by a central bank. No word on what Fedcoin would think about that irony. So, what's the backstory to all this? Well, the government has been scrambling to come up with a good response to the mining and investing boom of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. Then, in March of 2022, President Biden signed an executive order announcing that the government would look into the potential of a U.S. central bank digital currency. That's a fancy way of saying a digital dollar could be coming down the pike. So, did the pandemic lead to a cashless society? Nah. We might use less cash, but our society still has a long way to go before it's totally and completely cashless. And just because some stories didn't want to, didn't add up, and, you have a bunch of stores that didn't want to accept dollar bills for a while, and maybe some of them still don't, that doesn't mean a cashless society is here to stay. Think about how much of your money is virtual already. Does your boss hand you a bunch of hundreds on payday? Probably not. You probably wake up on payday Friday morning to a nice little direct deposit from your employer into your bank account. You never saw the money physically, never changed hands in person, and the only reason you even know you did get paid is because some ones and zeros tell you that you did. Plus, you probably pay your family and friends through apps like Zelle, PayPal, or Venmo, especially if you don't have cash on hand or you never really see your friends in person that often. But remember, this doesn't mean we live in a cashless society. You can still pull out cash from the bank and, stuff your envelopes or shoe boxes with it. Maybe put some money under your kid's pillow for the tooth fairy. Cash is still alive and well. And no pandemic's going to take it down. Like it or not, there are plenty of people who like and rely on using cash. And as long as those people are around, nope, we're not moving to a cashless society anytime soon. So, I would say the moral of the story is cash is still king. Yeah, right? Cash is something that, some people just stand by. And that's never going to change. When you buy something with cash, you can really feel it. You have to give up something, that $20 bill to get the thing that you want. There's internal friction there as you watch the money leave your hands and disappear into the cashier's drawer. Think about how much big business would love for us to all go cashless, though. It's easier to spend more when you just swipe a card, isn't it? And people who use things like mobile wallets just swipe away like they're playing around with virtual Monopoly money. So, of course, these big companies would jump at the chance to get us all to stop using cash for good. It's more kickback in their pocket, a lot more if you use a credit card. Still, nothing beats cold hard cash. In fact, 85% of business owners say they'll always accept cash. And look, don't feel like you're causing the downfall of America by not using cash. Seriously, as long as you have money in the bank, using your debit card's all good. At the end of the day, whatever kind of payment you want to use, debit, mobile wallet, cash, just make sure you budget it for it first. Right? You need a plan for every expense, whether you're laying down a couple 20s, a couple hundreds, or whatever it is at the gas station, or paying back a friend for spotting you for lunch. So don't be too worried about, a cashless society. We're nowhere near there yet. So you don't have too much to worry about. But that's not to say that it might not happen in your lifetime. So I just want you guys to be aware, right? This is just some good information, right? And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate if you did. But until I see you guys in the next one, y'all be safe.